Good morning everybody, happy Saturday, and today's video is about self-worth and why you should never feel you have to prove it to anybody. So it's really common that we will try to prove our self-worth to people. So we might be going for an interview, or we might be going on a date, we might be meeting a new group of people, or we might be seeing family for the first time in a long time. And we might subconsciously be playing out a program where we're feeling we need to sell ourselves to these people because it might be a need to be liked, loved, wanted. It all comes down to self-worth. But if we're trying to sell our self-worth to people to convince them of who we are, to get them to see our worth, to get them to appreciate us, to get them to not take advantage of us, to get them to see our unique lights, which we all have, there's an issue. Because technically we shouldn't have to force anybody to see our self-worth, but in our closest connections sometimes we do. And it usually comes down to a lack of self-worth in self, or a lack of self-confidence. So we only need to really try to impress people, or to impress upon them who we believe we are or who we believe we want to be, if we're doubting ourselves in the first place. So it's a bit of a superpower to get in your power and not prove your self-worth to anyone. Just be, because you'll probably come across far more in your power, in your light, in your true identity of who you are, when you're not trying to present in a certain way. When it becomes an issue that we're trying to convince people of our self-worth, and we may not be aware of it on the surface, is when we're trying to get somebody's validation that's not giving it, to get somebody to see us who can't see us as we are, to get somebody to notice us, to think we're special. And actually that's something going on in us, that why do we not feel those things in the first place within ourselves? And that's a whole different kettle of fish really. But if we're not feeling these things in ourselves, we can kind of try and get that from somebody else to fill us back up. It can get a bit dangerous if we're trying to convince somebody of our self-worth who isn't worthy of us, who is not treating us right, is not treating us well, is putting us down, all these things. I mean, why are we trying to convince them? They actually don't deserve us in the first place. So it's really important to see whether you're trying to convince people of your self-worth, because the people that will be valuable and true to you can see you as you are, not something that you have to put on a facade or force or push or worry that you're not seen that way. It's that old chestnut that actually what you're seeking from others, you are seeking from yourselves. But it is absolutely true, because if you're filled up with confidence, if you're filled up with self-worth, if you're filled up with self-love, when people come around you that aren't naturally mirroring that back to you and seeing you as you are, you'd find it easy just to let them pass on by, keep scrolling, you just walk on by, because you don't need that from them. And you would see it more as, oh, they don't really see who I am, or they don't get me, or they're actually quite insulting, or whatever it might be, or it's hard work, I'm really having to point out who I am. Connections shouldn't be tough, they shouldn't be hard, love shouldn't be hard. So if it is, and you're really trying to get somebody to see who you are, firstly look at yourself. What am I missing in myself that it's so important that this person sees who I am? But equally, if they're not seeing you or your worth, that's something going on in them as well. You're not there to fix that, that's theirs. But do you really want to hang around trying to convince somebody? Sometimes the best way to get somebody to see your worth is to walk away and don't look back, and let them feel your loss. Let them feel your loss, let them go through that process. It might take them a while, but they might start to grow from your loss or your sudden burst in confidence that they didn't see coming, and it might actually be the catalyst to some kind of change in them. Whether they drift back into your life or not is irrelevant, but surround yourself with people who see your worth. But first, make sure you see your worth, because whatever you don't see in yourself, you will look to others for, and that can become a problem because they may not deliver. So fill yourself up first. People don't see your worth. You don't need to convince them of your worth. Just let them pass on by. Let them move on by. Look, this planet's so overpopulated. There's millions of us. There's millions of people that will see your worth. There's millions of people that won't see your worth. There's millions of people who haven't seen my worth. I just keep going, and I keep going on building my own self-esteem, my own self-worth, my own confidence, so other people don't matter so much. Their opinions don't matter so much. That's a superpower too. All right? So never convince anybody of your worth, but start building up your own.